price of cognitive dissonance and delusion.
Yeah! What's poppin'? So, you already know what it is, so we're gonna get straight to business. And this is the newest episode of Cognitive Dissonance and Delusion and all the propaganda that we continue to fall for because of it. The Margaret Sanger edition. I've been waiting to circle the block on this one since the first time I actually did this video about maybe 8-9 months ago. And now I want to share with my peers all the things that I continue to see in reality that it seems like nobody else is paying attention to. But then some people think that I'm either unhinged or a little out on the fringes of what we call mainstream society's point of view of the historical facts. So I know what they taught us in school. I know what these politicians continue to push and shove down your throats as if it's the facts or the truth, but it's not. So now let's get down to the historical facts of what actually created what we now know as Planned Parenthood and how it came to be, whose back it was built off of, and the blood, sweat, and tears, or should I say, all of the nightmares and fears of our people that made this great institution possible. And, you know, everybody looks at me and says, why do you say what you say about the NAACP? I'm about to show you exactly why, because the NAACP knew exactly who this woman was but they knew exactly who she was when they brought her to the community to push her NEGRO project. So again, this is why I started following the money and following the paper trail. And if you pay attention, the same exact group of individuals that funded the NAACP, because Bethune, Powell, and Du Bois were just the front. But the people that funded it, if you follow the money, are the same people that fund, or should I say, created, funded, and continue to fund the Southern Poverty Law Center. Word APAC! But yeah, that being said, let's get down to business. Alright, we back at it. So now that we've gotten the intro out of the way, we're going to sit down together and we're going to watch Eugenics and Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger. Let's get to business.
Mrs. Margaret Slee, president of America's Planned Parenthood Federation, maintains that European women should stop having babies for the next 10 years.
But Mrs. Slee, in this country, having babies is the only thing left which is both unrationed and untaxed. Do you think we really ought to stop?
Well, I suppose a subject like that is really so personal that it's entirely up to the parents to decide. But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
The term eugenics is basically a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population. Historically, by excluding people and groups judged to be inferior and promoting those judged to be superior. There have been various applications of eugenics, perhaps the most famous being the Germans before and during World War II, which was condemned by the Nuremberg war crimes trials. But the Germans did not invent eugenics. In fact, they were inspired by the founder of the taxpayer-funded Planned Parenthood. The truth behind the genesis of that organization and its founder.
Now, before we go any further, I want to touch on a quick subject. I had someone once tell me, an associate, someone I would consider at the time close to, and they told me straight out, because I actually said it to them, my proposition, I said, you know, it sounds to me, because of how we've all been indoctrinated to believe, that if a certain individual gave you the cure for HIV and cancer, and told you could patent it, do whatever you want with it, keep the proceeds of the patent, or gift it to humanity, that you would turn it down simply because you didn't like the source of which it came from, which was Trump. To which I was outright told, yeah, you're right, I wouldn't. Even if I knew it would save the world, just because it's him, I would not do it. And the reason I bring that up is because, you know, that old saying, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Just because you don't particularly care for the source of information does not negate the facts. So as we watch this, let's keep it in mind and remember, all of these are verified, documented historical facts that you yourself can go back and fact check. I understand that it's hard to digest some of these things and realize that we've all been taught a lie. But it is what it is. History is his story. He who wins the war gets to tell the story from their vantage point and their perspective. And no one ever makes themselves look like a demon in the flesh when they're telling the story of their own legacy, because colonialization and the transatlantic slave trade turns into, we found an uninhabited landmass, the new world, where there was absolutely nothing, even though I can show you maps from the 13th and 14th, 15th century that say there were whole cities like Chilagua, which is now Chicago, or San Francisco, or New Amsterdam, whatever you want to call it. But where there was New York, it was once New Holland or New Amsterdam. Chicago became Chicago. These cities have always been there. And the story that they're telling us of how we got to this point is just that, it's a story. And if you don't believe me, all the way down to religion, you can look up the Council of Nicaea, and you'll see exactly when they flipped and switched and removed books out of the Bible to keep your ass confused. But anyways, back on track.
Are much darker than most Americans realize. Who was the real Margaret Sanger? Why was she heralded by the Third Reich as the greatest socialist in America?
Socialist. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Now, again, as a child, I was always taught that socialism, Marxism, communism were bad no-nos. But Mandami told you, he's a democratic socialist. And it's funny because every man that I looked to as a child who told me how we were supposed to interact and move with the world, I'm watching all of them go back on their word and buckle. Yeah. Imagine at damn near 50 years old, everything that every man you ever looked to as who you learned from, the OGs that taught us everything, are now going back and buckling on everything that they taught us. But they say, hey, I'm crazy. It's funny because y'all told me real men don't do this. And now I see all the real men that told me that doing exactly that. Anyways, back to the diabolical dirty work.
Aim to support the African American population justify presenting her as a cultural icon. Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, a veteran of the United States Army and Marine Corps, former history professor, book author, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History. Margaret Sanger was born on September 14, 1879 in Corning, New York. She is an icon to left-wing groups due to her founding of Planned Parenthood in October 1916 with her sister Ethel Byrne and Fanny Amendel, which was the first birth control clinic in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. 9 days later, the police raided the clinic and arrested all the people involved for promoting birth control, which was illegal. Sanger refused to pay the fine and spent 30 days in jail. She then traveled the country preaching her concepts. Sanger then founded the American Birth Control League in 1921. Sanger also endorsed the 1927 decision Buck v. Bell, in which the Supreme Court ruled that states could forcibly sterilize people deemed unfit without their consent and sometimes without their knowledge. This American law would be the...
Now, for all my Boricuas out there, Boriquén, I want you to do a quick Google search on the birth control studies or the guinea pigs that were used for birth control in Puerto Rico. And that'll explain why that law they just spoke about was created. But yeah, back to business, because it ain't just us. It's all of us. And then the same people that abuse you to use you and tell you which type of white people to be afraid of are the actual ones manipulating you. And when you follow where the money comes from, then you'll understand who the real supremacists are and who's manipulating you right in your face as they use you to do it. And they use people that look just like you to dominate you. Diabolical.
Major defense at Nuremberg for the Nazi defendants who were doctors practicing Sanger's methods, and many would be found not guilty as a result of this defense. In 1939, Sanger began what was called the NEGRO Project, alongside black leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois. Mary be found not guilty as a result.
The NAACP PSYOP. Pay close attention, and then you have to start really putting your heroes under a microscope and scrutinizing everything that we were all told as children, because 90% of it was bullshit propaganda and lies.
Result of this defense. In 1939, Sanger began what was called the NEGRO Project, alongside black leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary McLeod Bethune, and Reverend Adam Clayton Powell.
Woo!
This was the plan to have black doctors performing on black patients to perpetuate the sterilization of blacks who were deemed inferior, as many black patients were suspicious of white.
So wait a minute. What you're telling me is 3 of the founding members of the NAACP, which I must reiterate, the founding funders come from the same group that funded the Southern Poverty Law Center, come from the same group that funds AIPAC. Yeah. The founding funders of the NAACP used these 3 Negroes as the face of the organization, but the money, the paper, the felia, the plata came from the people then. And if you don't believe me, you can always ask a Nazi. I'll let you figure that one out.
Doctors. Following upon Sanger's eugenics platform, disguised as giving women access to birth control, the ABCL became Planned Parenthood Federation of America in 1942, after birth control was no longer considered illegal, at least among married couples. During this period, Sanger had critics and supporters. The supporters even today claim that she condemned abortion, arguing that it would not be needed if every woman had access to birth control.
Pay attention.
What they leave out is that Sanger only opposed abortions if that meant not producing the best, healthiest, most intelligent from Caucasian couples. For blacks, Jews, and brown-skinned people, as well as low IQ white people and those with birth defects,
Fuck you.
they were not to be allowed. This was what the Nazis adopted.
Not that they came up with.
In 1966,
Adopted.
Planned Parenthood began issuing its Margaret Sanger Awards annually to honor individuals of distinction in recognition of excellence and
They
leadership,
ain't killed Count
furthering
Cliff.
reproductive health and reproductive rights. However, the organization very quietly and without any fanfare stopped this practice as Black Lives Matter rose to prominence. It would have been seen as the height of hypocrisy to have a liberal-backed domestic terror group that attacked white America connected to Sanger, a Democrat darling who wanted to exterminate blacks. In fact, the last recipient of the award listed on the website is Dr. Willie Parker in 2015.
And remember, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The biggest proponents and the biggest supporters of so-called be fearful of white supremacy, Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Toure, Whoopi Goldberg. She's done it many times. And so on and so on and so on. But if you pay attention, especially in politics, the women that tell you the most to fear white people, especially white men, and how dangerous white men are all married to white men. Now, I'm not saying that these things don't exist, but what I'm saying is no one finds it odd that the people who show the most fear to a certain demographic all seem to go home and make love to them every night? Just asking for a friend.
Then it just quietly disappeared. Parker was an abortionist known for his contentious claims that his Christian faith influenced his work. He was accused of sexual assault in 2019, which he denied, but he still resigned from all of his professional positions in 2020. Other recipients of the Margaret Sanger Award include House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and actresses Jane Fonda and Katharine Hepburn. Margaret Sanger was one of the few women to be given an honorific title and inducted into the Ku Klux Klan.
These are your heroes.
And exalted by none other than Adolf Hitler and Dr. Joseph
Black
Goebbels.
America, these are the people you
She
prop.
was friends with the racist Democratic President Woodrow Wilson, Democratic fundraiser and automobile maker Henry Ford, who was also friends with Adolf Hitler, and a rabid anti-Semite
The Democratic
and
Party
hater
has
of
always
black
been this way.
Americans.
This is not new.
Margaret Sanger's rabid racism, anti-Semitism, and violent suggestions on eliminating all non-whites from American society endeared her to the eugenics crowd.
And the crazy shit is that
She wanted an all-white,
stop
healthy,
this.
intelligent society.
when you pay attention again to follow the money and you see who supports these things, but then you see how it actually plays out in society. But they say that we, Black Americans, like to pull the race card and play victim. But who really is playing victim here if you're funding both sides of a quote-unquote race war and it's your money that's funding it? And then when shit happens, well, my people and my people, but your people are funding all the bullshit that's happening to all the quote-unquote POCs on the planet. And I know people don't want to hear it, but if you follow the paper trail and you follow the money, the facts cannot be denied. So yeah, let's start over because I know I was talking. After this, I'm going to let it right out to the end. Pardon the interruptions.
Democratic President Woodrow Wilson, Democratic fundraiser and automobile maker Henry Ford, who was also friends with Adolf Hitler, and a rabid anti-Semite and hater of Black Americans. Margaret Sanger's rabid racism, anti-Semitism, and violent suggestions on eliminating all non-whites from American society endeared her to the eugenics crowd. She wanted an all-white, healthy, intelligent society built upon the concept of racial eradication, years before Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party were even a thought.
She inspired him.
In 1934, the Nazi Party adopted her radical positions, with Goebbels saying, "Margaret Sanger is the best National Socialist in America." In fact, the September 15, 1935 Nuremberg laws classified races according to an insane chart drafted by Dr. Wilhelm Stuckart and Dr. Friedrich Kritzinger. The official name was the Reich Citizenship Law and the Law for the Protection of German Blood and German Honor. These laws embodied many of the racial theories underpinning Nazi ideology, which they adapted from Margaret Sanger. These laws could provide the legal framework for the systematic persecution of Jews in Germany, who at that time were deemed a race and not a religion, and the eugenics behind them were taken from the world of Sanger. In fact, her theories and opinions influenced men like SS Captain Dr. Josef Mengele, the Beast of Auschwitz, and his associates, Dr. Karl Klauberg, Dr. Hertha Oberhäuser, Hitler's personal physician, Dr. Karl Brandt, just to name a few. When Hitler authorized the Action T4 euthanasia program to murder the handicapped, mentally ill, and other undesirables from German society, the doctors and nurses were given the program directly from Margaret Sanger's own philosophy. On August 18, 1939, the Reich Ministry of the Interior circulated a decree requiring all physicians, nurses, and midwives to report newborn infants and children under the age of 3 who showed signs of severe mental or physical disability. The man who started the program was Dr. Karl Brandt, and they were disguised as children's clinics and advertised that they would treat their abnormalities and infirmities. In fact, they were death centers where the children were quietly killed and the cause of death misrepresented as by other means such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, etc. Dr. Brandt himself claimed that Sanger's methods were most effective and, if performed correctly, are ingenious. In Sanger's own words, she peddled racism, eugenics, contraception, abortion, while demonstrating a visceral hatred for children, parenthood, marriage, and the Catholic Church. The following quotes are directly from Margaret Sanger's own writings and interviews. 1. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. 2. A marriage license shall in itself give husband and wife only the right to a common household and not the right of parenthood. 3. All of our problems are the result of overbreeding among the working class. Knowledge of birth control is essentially moral. Its general, though prudent, practice must lead to a higher individuality and ultimately to a cleaner race. 4.
Race cleansing?
Blacks, soldiers, and Jews are a menace to the human race. 5. The masses of Negroes, particularly in the South, still result of overbreeding among the working class. Knowledge of birth control is essentially moral. Its general, though prudent, practice must lead to a higher individuality and ultimately to a cleaner race. 4. Blacks, soldiers, and Jews are a menace to the human race. 5. The masses of Negroes, particularly in the South, still breed carelessly and disastrously, with the result that the increase among Negroes, even more than among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit. 6. Birth control appeals to the advanced radical because it is calculated to undermine the authority of the Christian churches. I look forward to seeing humanity free someday of the tyranny of Christianity.
And remember, you all know me. Those of you that know me, I am by no means a religious person. And I've always openly stated that. But it's funny because the people that I see talk about God and Jesus the most and how much they love the Lord, especially a lot of the females that I know personally, have how many abortions have you had throughout your lifetime? And listen, I'm not judging. But this woman here is telling you exactly what her purpose is and what it was and what it means. This is a disrespect of your God and his creation. But this is what they claim women's health is. This is what people are out fighting for. The right, and you know what her whole purpose was. This is a form of eugenics. And if you look at which populations and which groups have the highest rates of abortion, it seems like the Negro Project's working to me. Thank you, W.E.B. Du Bois, Adam Clayton Powell, and Madam C.J. We salute you all for taking our whole community, all of the American Negro community, and as MLK said, walking us into that burning building with your founding funders. And to all the house Negroes that sit back and go, oh, we must fight for DEI, that 60% of the beneficiaries are just like that woman right there. Why? Because you work for your handlers. And nobody wants to have this conversation, but I'm the asshole and the, as they say, racist xenophobe that's spreading hate because I want my people to see what's really going on. But nobody wants to talk about the real issues. And this is one of those issues. So while y'all are fighting for the right to destroy us, for the right to keep your imported replacement that came here illegally, but people are upset about $1 billion or $2 billion being spent when they're spending almost $160 billion every fiscal year on illegal aliens. But people are mad about $1.7 billion that's supposed to be going to the rioters of January 6th. And if you've seen the footage, because I watched it, the police let them right in. And nobody wants to talk about that either. Why is it we don't want to talk about the things that we've all seen and know to happen and know to be a fact, and that there is historical documentation to prove the facts? But nobody wants to have these conversations about the systems that were created for you to destroy you, and you're upholding them while you cry about white supremacy. That's white supremacy, to destroy your black ass and wipe you to fuck off the map. And you acquiesce of your own free will. But I'm wild. Boy, the world is full of delusional cowards and clowns. And I can say that with my whole chest because I don't support any of this shit. And I'm openly telling my people to get the fuck off the plantation. But those of you that want to stay, trust me, when the other foot drops, there'll be nowhere to go because they're going to dog walk you. And you can't come back home because you've already made the decision and we see you.
No less than capitalism. Number 7. Every single case of inherited defect, every malformed child, every congenitally tainted human being brought into this world is of infinite importance to that poor individual. But it is scarcely less important to the rest of us and to all of our children who must pay in one way or another for these biological and racial mistakes.
Racial mistakes. You
Number 8.
mistakes.
It now remains for the United States government to set a sensible example to the world by offering a bonus or a yearly pension to all obviously unfit parents who allow themselves to be sterilized by harmless and scientific means. Margaret Sanger, the woman heralded by the Democrats and left-wing ideologues in the United States for her positions on women's reproductive rights, always failed to include her genocidal positions on ethnic cleansing. She died on September 6, 1966 in Tucson, Arizona.
Good riddance,
But Margaret
bitch.
Sanger was not alone. The late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Demon
said in a
bitch.
New York Times interview, "Frankly, I had thought that at the time Roe was decided, there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of."
But y'all love this bitch!
Ginsburg also stated that poor people should have ready access to abortions because it makes no sense as a national policy to provoke birth only among poor people.
Yet,
2015.
the same party is telling you to go dry ice for illegals that brought their kids over here and are now making you pay for and give birthright citizens to their children. But they told you 50 fucking years ago to kill your own black ass babies, and y'all out here pom-pomming and parading for these people. What in the fuck is going on? How does nobody see this? And how are you acting like I'm crazy for pointing out the obvious? When I tell you I have become so, I don't even want to say heartbroken, but just outright disgusted with the apathy. Because you complain and cry about injustices and white supremacy, but the exact institutions created by the white supremacists you clowns are fighting to uphold, while you cry and beg about fucking oppression, but you're fighting to keep the oppressive systems that were created to obliterate you as a race. Her words, not mine. She said it. You continue to embrace it. I'm just putting it on a platter and delivering it to you. Maybe, just maybe. And please, everyone, miss me with the but, because every time I give one of these, these demon coons and Negrocrats, the facts, I always get the exact same answer. I know, but. Oh, I know they don't like us, but they need our help. So you don't like being referred to, looked at, or associated with being a second-class citizen, three-fifths of a human, or a slave. But you don't even realize that mentally you act just like a slave. Because just like Master used to beat the shit out of our ancestors and say, "Go pick my cotton, nigga." Now they beat you. They talk about you, you dirty black American who don't know who your daddy is.
Dirty, what's your background? You American? Dirty black American?
Wait, what?
Huh?
She just said that?
I did. A dirty black American. I sure did. Because that's what y'all are.
Most of the people that we meet, especially African Americans, they don't even know their fathers. They don't even know their fathers.
Fucking Mayete. And you know what you do? You go fight for them when they tell you to fight for them. It ain't no difference. No matter how you want to slice it, it ain't no different. And again, I have no problems with anyone or any group, but I'm not going to continue to sit back and act like I can't read the room or see what's happening, because I can go on, and I've done it already, and provide you with hours and hours and hours and hours of receipts. 6ix9ine literally said, the man literally said in an interview, no, what black people are trying to do is manipulate you and tell you that you're doing something wrong by calling them the N-word. And that if people like Post Malone didn't buckle instantly when they're checked on using racial epithets towards us, it wouldn't be this way. So from this day forward, if that's going to be the new standard, anytime I hear, yo, what's up, my nigga? Whatever the offending party may be, it should be okay if I reciprocate, correct? So if I was to meet Mr. 6ix9ine and I had my nigger police shirt on,
I told Charlamagne to his face, I said, who gonna stop me? I'm gonna keep being me. Born in Brooklyn, and that get me even mad where I'm saying I gotta where I'm from. Who gonna stop me? That's what asked me. Who gonna stop me?
I think it's because black people voice their frustration with it. And
no, they think they can manipulate people into feeling like they doing something wrong. That's why I said I'm gonna continue to say it, and I'm gonna wait for that big bad wolf to stop me. Cause I'm not gonna stop being me for some politically correct thing. Fuck out of here. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not the nigga police either. Like, I got Mexican friends that say nigga more than me.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm waiting for the nigga police. Like, I'm waiting for the nigga police to come. Like, I where the nigga police at? I want a big black nigga to come with a nigga police shirt and be like, yo, I don't like you saying nigga, bro. You know what I mean? Who gonna stop me? And I think if Post Malone and all these, people with a fucking, you know, they fall under zero pressure. Yeah, like as a black person, what you want us to say? How do you want us to answer that? I'm sorry.
No. It's not like
what you want us to say? Yo, I'm sorry,
no. It's
bro.
not like I'm
I
sorry
won't say
thing.
no more.
It's just like,
yo,
damn,
when it's my camera,
go ahead.
I'm gonna give you the answer you want. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not gonna say no more. I'm fucked up. Damn, I lost all my endorsements. I lost my fucking bounty commercial. Sorry, I'm never gonna do it again. Fuck out of here. You see how clown that shit is? I'm not doing that, bro.
Yeah.
Niggas not doing that.
and he said, hey, what's up, nigga? And I said, I don't know. You tell me, spick back or wet spick. Would that be okay? I mean, he is half Mexican and half Puerto Rican, correct? So, according to the epithets we were given by our colonial masters, that would fit the bill. Would it not? I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, or does that only apply to specific groups? Asking for a friend. Can somebody please tell me? Your happy neighborhood nigga would like to know. So can anybody tell me, please? Is this okay? Do we get to exchange niceties and reciprocate energy? Or does it only work when everyone in the diaspora comes in our house and says, hey, dirty nigger. Hey, you dirty American, Mayete Moyo, Mejora la raza, Jarir Akata. Just asking for a friend. I mean, you know, according to the Asian brother, we should be happy because God gave us third legs.
Or have such a low social status that you simply can't be seen in public with them and still expect to have any respect.
to help him try to go get go to barber shop. That's how the American barber know he not the full-blood Chinese. They say don't cut no nigga hair. They put out
Cut no nigga hair.
Movement helped the Chinese to attain certain status among the white world, more or less. Whereas we didn't have anything gained in the black world because they didn't have nothing for us to step into. Well, you know, we didn't march. If that's what you
We
mean,
didn't march.
why didn't we get out and march? And
We didn't get marched.
well, I guess the best answer is that I'm a coward.
He said it. Coward.
A mainstream blacks versus Asian people debate. And I'm telling you right now, it ain't coming from us. We don't want to be associated with that victim mentality bullshit. And for the most part, we don't give a fuck. First of all, you people, y'all got 3 legs. Be happy, fucking move on. Right? Living with a resentful victim mentality is poison. You know, the energy we get from eating rice gets put into raising our families, building legacy, and contributing to a host nation, not destruction and tearing down someone who represents what you perceive as an oppressor. We were raised with humility and shame. Shit happened in history. Shit will happen in the future. Japan got nuked twice, and they love America. You know, acknowledge the past, sure, invest in our future, merit over melanin, and contribution over controversy. I can smell it. A mainstream blacks versus Asian people debate.
You're just a kickstand, darky. Be happy. Because the Japanese again got bombed back to the Stone Age, and they love it. What's wrong with you niggas? Yeah. Anyways, let's get back to business.
Out of $1.29 billion in total revenue, $553.7 million came from the government reimbursing Planned Parenthood for their services. In 2020, Planned Parenthood performed 383,460 abortions, the highest number of abortions it has yet reported, and an increase of nearly 28,600 from the previous year. And in the United States, the abortion rate for black women is almost 5 times that for white women.
5 to 1.
In July 2020, Planned Parenthood quietly removed Margaret Sanger.
13% of the population. If you look at it statistically, I've showed you before, the average Caucasian American can only trace their genealogy back to this land 2 generations. And that's only like 60% of them. So that means the other ones, the other 40% just got here. And of the ones that, of that 60%, they can only go back 2 generations. Yet 75% of black Americans can trace their genealogy back 3 generations or more. Which means we've been here longer, so when they tell you to go back to Africa, who in the fuck do you think you're talking to? Okay? Go back to Africa, motherfucker, you just got here. And y'all acquiesce and go, and then at what? 13% of the population, because we're getting smoked by the Hispanics, they at 20-something now. But for 5 to 1. 5 to 1. Yeah, that's what we call, what they say again, women's health.
1,600 from the previous year. And in the United States, the abortion rate for black women is almost 5 times that for white women. In July 2020, Planned Parenthood quietly removed Margaret Sanger's name from its headquarters in Manhattan, New York. Obviously, the Times had caught up with Margaret Sanger. Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please click like, subscribe, and share. Send us comments and show ideas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time.
Any questions? And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Margaret Sanger, the godmother of eugenics. One of the SS's favorite people. The one that they credited for basically almost all of their ideas, because it was the most efficient and effective way to deal with the undesirables. And again, this is the woman that a lot of you champion and parade around as if she's some type of hero in women's health. This had nothing to do with women's health. This had everything to do with a long-term legal, can I say the G word on social media? I don't even know, but you know what I mean, the genocide. But yeah, there we have it. That is today's installment of cognitive dissonance and delusion and the propaganda that we all continue to fall for because of it. I invite you all to leave your thoughts in the comments, good, bad, or indifferent, but we all know what it is. It's gotten to the point where I just have to come and realize the hard facts. Y'all don't care. You don't care about yourselves. You don't love yourself. You can't, because for every verifiable receipt that I've ever been able to dig up and give to my peers, 95% of you all give me the same response. It's either, so what? Nigga, I don't care about that shit. I don't even want to see the shit. Or, but we have to do it. Stop complaining about processes and systems that you willingly participate in, especially once you are made aware and know the facts, because running from the truth is never going to stop these things from being true. And if you want to know why, as a collective, people are saying and doing things to us as a people that they're doing, this is why. Because they tell you outright how they feel about you. They always have told you outright how they feel about you. I do not want to be aligned with you niggas. I do not feel like we should have to suffer the same thing as the Negro and Jim Crow eras because we are a white race.
I argue that Mexicans were legally white and should not be subjugated to the same Jim Crow treatment as blacks. Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore white, which is true. And I say, let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I don't want to ally with him. I know Negroes aren't given their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get.
And we taught our kids the same thing. That's why they can play with you. I can't bring you home. We are a white race, and we should not be treated like colored people.
But when they tell you, nigga, get up, go jump and fucking march and put your sovereignty and freedom on the line for illegals that you all know have no legal standing to be on, you know what you do? You acquiesce like that. He told you to go try ice. So yeah, on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. Realize. Transparency forces accountability. Y'all keep your eyes to the stars. Keep that head on a swivel, because y'all niggas come need it. Because a lot of y'all motherfuckers about to get robbed to sleep. Dog food. It is what it is. At this point, I can't do nothing but sit back and laugh. Because if I don't, all I'm gonna be able to do is fucking cry. Because y'all motherfuckers are starting to make me sick.